The reason we've grown and the reason we've survived is because we've focused on what we have that they don't. So with that bigger brand, that's owned by two guys. We're two girls, we are the target customer.
Building a business is tough and doing it alone even tougher. Welcome to She Talks, your go-to podcast for raw, relatable and ridiculously useful business advice. I'm Lisa Jones and I'm both a mum and a serial entrepreneur, and I'm here to help share real stories and proven strategies to help you scale up your business. Let's do this together. In this episode, I sit down with Viv Conway, co-founder of Girls Get Off, the playful, unfiltered brand redefining feminine pleasure. What started as a conversation between friends quickly turned into a bold mission to make vibrators less taboo, more empowering, and a hell of a lot more fun. We dive into how Viv built a cult following without using paid ads, navigated stigma with humor, and went viral dressed as a giant vagina. Yes, you heard that right. From customer service wins to AI hacks, co-branded sex toys and influencer collabs, this episode is packed with unconventional but wildly effective marketing gold. If you've ever had to get scrappy or break the rules, then this episode's for you. Hey Viv, women start businesses for all kinds of different reasons, and I am so interested to talk to you today about your electric toothbrush. I want to know, why did you start Girls Get Off?
Well, Lisa, we were having, my business partner Jo and I, we were having a few socially distanced gins on her driveway back in March of 2020. And we were talking about starting a business together. We weren't sure what that looked like yet. However, we'd noticed that sex toys, or as we jokingly call them on Instagram so we don't get in trouble, electric toothbrushes, they were trending a lot at the moment. But at that time, however, if you were a customer, a female who wanted to go and buy your first sex toy, you either had to go to the shop down the road, which could be a real roll of the dice as to what that experience would look like, or you could go online. But a lot of these large sex toy stores have got 7,000 SKUs. They've got so many products. It's so hard to choose. And as I'm sure a lot of people who've ever visited either an in-person or an online store, there can be some products there that feel really overwhelming. So we wanted to set out and create a user experience or a customer experience that was fun, simple, positive, made you excited about buying a sex toy instead of something that had been traditionally quite taboo and made people really uncomfortable. So that's sort of our why. And I guess that's progressed from initially, let's normalize female pleasure. And then that sort of evolved a little bit recently into, helping women feel confident in the bedroom. Because when it comes to sex, no one teaches us what we're supposed to be doing. We're learning from all these different places, and we just really want people to feel empowered to explore themselves and then get used to themselves, figure out what they like, and then share that with a partner.
And I wonder, back then on that driveway as you're drinking a gin, did you ever imagine one day you might dress up as a giant vagina and be on social media getting viral?
I know. Look, we've had to pull some really funny strings to get attention in this business. We face so many challenges when it comes to restrictions with advertising. So we've done everything from costumes to, dancing in the costume, trying to get other people to dance with me on Bondi Beach. I was looking back today, I've done, when the Barbie movie came out, I did some content and I made a BDSM Barbie with a Barbie dream house. I don't even know where I put that after that was done, but there's been so many different things that we've done. I think when we started, we just thought, this will be a bit of fun. This will be all good. We'll run some ads. And then I don't know why we didn't think that through, but that was never going to be an option.
Do you know what I love about what you guys have done, though? And I'll be frank, I crush on your business and your socials a lot. I think if any listeners haven't gone to stalk Girls Get Off, get the hell over there right now. You will have a bloody good laugh. But I think what I love most about what you guys have created is this idea that you took an existing sleazy industry. It isn't that women weren't buying vibrators. They were. But as you pointed out, they were doing it in a way that felt super it, because it was sleazy and gross and overwhelming, and alongside the pretty pink vibrator sat BDSM chokeholds that keep your mouth open, or some tennis ball gag, or just stuff that is wait, no, that's actually all I'm looking for is to masturbate. I'm not actually, strung up like I'm some kind of BDSM queen. So I love that you've been able to, I suppose, somewhat normalize it, or at least make it fun and I love the business model concept of going into an existing industry and giving it a red hot shake up. Like, what's the result been of that for you guys from the perspective of, does anyone come after you from these like other sex brands that you're, I suppose, making look bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because now I'm thinking back and putting myself in the shoes of where we were when we were kind of, trying this business. And I think for anyone who's thought about starting a business or you're in the getting your product and your stock and you're still like, you're never going to know if someone's going to buy this until they pull out their wallets and they actually pay for it. And I don't think any amount of research can make you feel really confident in whether or not people are going to, like, how it's going to be received. But not only, I think the things for us was like you mentioned, having as an existing industry, we know there's a demand for it, but the problem is in the delivery or the experience. But on top of that, the other thing we found, which might be helpful for some people, was there was like one other brand doing a good job in the States. So we could also, we could identify this problem that, okay, women want to explore toys, maybe, but the experience isn't quite there yet. And so they feel uncomfortable. But then we could also see this brand overseas that, it was almost like a proof of concept, I guess. So that gave us a little bit more confidence. And then the second part to your question, to be honest, I think a lot of brands have realized they need to be more female focused and more, welcoming and a little bit more tasteful, I guess, for lack of a better word. So the industry has really changed over the past few years. I think that people, in terms of, look, when it was COVID time and where there was a lot of cash floating around, we found it really hard to work with influencers. So we would try and work with people and we would be up against, there was one competitor in particular, they had investor money and they would say, we'd talk to the agent, they said, well, this brand over here is going to pay them $5,000. I'm like, why on earth are they paying them $5,000? There's no way they're going to get a return from that. Keeping in mind that we can't run ads with this content. So we have to work with an influencer with stories. We have to get like return from that one interaction. So we kind of knew the metrics we needed to look for and what we could pay based on their statistics and so on. And so in terms of like competition and coming after us, like that was quite tough to just be outspent all the time, I guess, which is probably what a lot of people who maybe are running Google ads experience if they're up against bigger players who can spend more money on the marketing and so on and so forth. So they came after us in that respect. I think the reason we've grown and the reason we've survived is because we've focused on what we have that they don't. So with that bigger brand, that's owned by two guys. We're two girls. We are the target customer. So we've doubled down on organic content, creating a community around the product. They can say that they're creating a community around the product, but it's not as close as if you've got the founders who are like genuinely invested in the business every day, taking people along for the ride, showing the ups, the downs. We do a weekly email talking about, we've just had another manufacturing fault. Oh, Joe's working on getting this one sorted. Oh, we had a really big win over here. Oh, we had a really big hurdle over here. And so we take everyone on the journey the whole time. And that's what our competitors haven't done and what they can't replicate as well, particularly some of those bigger players. They've been around for 20 years, but I know, having, spoken to people who've worked with them or for them, that they're never going to be as agile as us. Like, you look at AI coming out right now, all I see is opportunities for us to get ahead. And then again, coming back to the founders, that is definitely something that they don't have, which we've just had to lean into, and it has worked for us.
But let's be honest, that exists for pretty much every business out there, that the existing competitors in your category, like there's a couple of things you just said that I want to reshare for our listeners in case you didn't get what gold Viv just dropped. But the first most important gold nugget she shared was that she looked for proof of concept in an existing industry, and finding a competitor perfectly in America, not Australia, makes the perfect brand to go and stalk the hell out of. So we talk about having a crush brand, or at least a few crush brands, knowing that somebody else is ahead of you, but being able to see where they perhaps pivot or what other ranges they bring out, how they talk to their audience in their email flows and in their social media. Like, this is a really important thing, because we don't want you guys inventing the wheel. Largely, we just want you following someone else's invention and being able to ride in the wake. It's like not being the duck at the front of the V, be the one that's a few ducks back. And I think that's a really important thing that you shared. I mean, there's a lot of important things you just shared. What I also love is that you may have stiff competition in your niche, but that doesn't mean that the competition is cleverer than you. In fact, sometimes they're more established, more lazy, perhaps more bureaucratic, and can't pivot or even give a shit to pivot like you can as a small and lean business. And I think what you guys have done is so incredibly clever of the fact that you are your avatar and you're able to build a community. And I just had the biggest laugh the other day, Viv. I saw one of your Instagram reels and it was you trying your new sex pillow in about 12 different angles on the bed, and you were like humping your pillow in the bed. And I was like, my God, who the hell does this on social media? Like, this is where I sometimes think, because listeners, Viv actually and I have known each other for quite a while, and Viv coaches over here at SheCom. So I have the benefit of watching Viv's business from afar. But does your mum never get like, does she get the ick sometimes when she sees your socials?
Lisa, I get the ick often on socials. I had to take some photos the other day. We were doing some video content and I thought, oh my gosh, like, I work in the sex industry, right? But I never thought I'd have to go down the path of like OnlyFans with clothes on, which I'm all about. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm the biggest fan, but I'm just trying to make an e-commerce business, you know what I mean? And then I'm putting my suction dildo on the wall and, because I know that it's going to make people laugh. I'm like, oh, I'll do some little different positions or something because someone's asked for them. So I'm like clothed with my jeans on in the bath, showing like what different angles you could do. And, someone commented like, oh, you're kind of awkward. I'm kind of awkward watching this. We're all awkward, but I really like the content. I'm like, I know, I'm taking one for the team. I'm like, that's the only way I can describe it. I know what people want value-wise, and I just take one for the team because we can all have a laugh about it at the end of the day. So, yeah, do my parents get, honestly, Lisa, the business I had before this was a social media agency, and my parents were more shocked when I told them I was going to quit my job, which I'd been to uni, gotten a degree. They were so over the moon, first person in the family to go to uni. And then they were more shocked when I said I'm going to quit my job and do Instagram stuff, which they could not understand what Instagram stuff meant back in 2015 than they were when I said, oh, we're going to start selling sex toys. And then they just go, oh, that's lovely, darling. Oh, funny videos, whatever. So, yeah, they honestly...
Do they watch your videos, do you think?
I'd say so, yeah. They come along for the ride. They're so oblivious now. They don't mind. Now they can see that it's working, so they're just happy for me.
I think my mum would curl up and die, but I think
yeah.
I often Viv's mom when I see the content. Very, very cute, sweet, but really clever. Like, if we break this down on a marketing perspective, I think listeners need to get a couple of things here. One is that sex toys, you're really restricted with Meta's ads block. Basically you can't advertise sex or sexual things on Meta or Instagram. And I'm assuming it's the same on TikTok. Is that right?
Yeah, TikTok's even worse.
Right. Okay. So if you're an e-commerce brand founder, most of our listeners are, spare a moment for Viv to think Viv and Joe are unable to do most of the paid advertising that a lot of brands use to lever growth. So instead, you guys have to use humor and deep connection with your audience. And perhaps what I get from your socials and marketing isn't just humor. It's also that you deeply understand your avatar, and she is just you or me. She isn't some, I don't know, sex worker in some dirty brothel in a Sydney sleazy King's Cross bar, right? The people who buy from you are mums like I am, who are like, well, you know what? My husband has been hitting the spot lately, so I'm going to help him out a little. And I just bought myself a little pink helper. And I think that's really normal. And normalizing sex is like, I think you're like an angel in this world, actually, to be honest. You have like a purpose for women to like unhinge our hinging, mindset around sex being icky, because it's not at all. It's really natural and normal. And I'm a pretty big fan of calling it what it is. But I love that you do that. Like, tell us a little bit more about the marketing and the barriers and where you've seen your most traction and growth.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, it always comes back to whether it is, your business as a whole or what you're posting on social media. Like, as you mentioned, in terms of people's attitudes around sex, it all comes back to solving a problem, So even the content that we solve on social media, am I entertaining someone and solving that problem for them? Am I giving them education and helping them learn something new and so solving that problem for them? Or with the business, helping them get used to a topic that they might have found quite taboo, or they've got 2 kids under 5, and so they don't actually have that much time to settle in for a luxury wank of an afternoon. They've just got to get there quickly. So I think when we try and understand who our customer is and like what they want, I mean, I think the thing is, when you start a business, you think you know who your customer's going to be, and then often, I'm sure you can relate, it can change. When we started this business, we thought we're going to be selling to university age girls first vibrator they've ever had. We're going to use lots of influencers. That's who's on social media. And we very quickly found that no, it was actually, she's 40 years old, couple of young kids, doesn't really have time for a big lazy afternoon session. And so she's going to get there quickly, or she's been with her partner for 10 years and wants to spice it up. So that, for starters, has changed a lot. And then in terms of like the content that we post and the education, I mean, it's trial and error, but the best thing about social media is that you get instant feedback as to what you're doing, you know, if it's good or not. So we've had, in the past, we've done lots of skits because we found that, you know, people really love the entertaining stuff. It's sort of evolved now where people want the educational sort of content. So that's been really good. But I think to your question around what marketing channels have we used as a whole, organic Instagram has been our main thing. So we've just really doubled down. We focused on that channel. At the start, we used a lot of influencers. We ran giveaways to grow the channel. Like, we figured out ways we could leverage other people's channels so that it would grow ours. And then we'd provide good content, entertain people, and keep them hooked. We've also used a lot of, anytime we can get in the media is really great. Like, we'll take any opportunity to get in there, and doing that in a paid sense can work well for us too. So if you will have heard of like Linkbee, we've used a lot of Linkbee, and we will do that if we have product launches that we think will go well with Linkbee. And we'll also do, at the moment, we've been doing some collaboration products. So it's a great time to be working with influencers if you're a business owner, because the money that was out there 2 years ago is not there. So it's like how it's like a employer's market at the moment instead of an employee's, same. So we've been able to, where in the past we might have had to pay tens of thousands of dollars to some of these influencers just to, totally all the risk is on us. We've been able to have conversations with them, design products together, and then split the profit, just be transparent about the costs. And then in these cases, we've just split the profit 50-50 with these influencers. So
influencer cost, that's like a game
yeah.
changer.
So it's like, A, it's great because you've got someone who's invested in the product that they've created. B, we launch a new product, that's all well and good. But obviously we get the upside of whatever else they buy. And it also means that we get more awareness on our brand. So we've just then got to do the stuff in the background to make sure we're capturing that audience and, you know, nurturing them a little bit. But, and look, I'm sure there's other ways you can go about that, but that's just one of the ways, I guess, where people are putting all that spend into Meta and you've got X amount to spend per month. We have just had to be creative with that. And look, we've tried other things that haven't worked as well. You know, if you see us put a billboard up, that's only because we've got distressed rates that we ring them the week before, and that's never to try and get a sale. It might be to try and get some PR or a story from it. But other things, you know, like even events and stuff, I think we've tried some events before and quickly realised that we're not an event management company, so that is not for us. And I think you've gone through something similar recently as well. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, look, we've done lots of different things. We've done like launch parties as well. That's been quite cool. One of the things we did in the past was we pulled all the physical addresses of anyone who'd ever bought from us, and we sent them all physical mail. And we sent them, it was like because we knew it was quite a sensitive topic, we're not going to send them like a pink envelope, but we made it look like a bank statement. So we hope no one that it wasn't intended for would open it. And then it just said, here's your link to the secret pre-sale for our next toy. And I think we almost did 1,000 pre-sales, which was like crazy now looking back. We'd spent 18 months and it was still only our first product. So people were messaging us every week. When are you going to come out with the next thing? When's the next thing coming? So that worked really well. And actually we probably should do that again, because that was one of our, you know, if I think about the return we got from that sender, it was pretty high. But yeah, so look, there's been lots of other random things that we've tried. We've tried, you know, running ads with just running like awareness ads. It hasn't worked from us. It's not enough information for Facebook to learn with. So we've kind of just stuck to our knitting a bit and are just building it that way.
So a couple of things I love about what you just shared. We'll come back to Linkbee in a moment, but I think what's really powerful here and what I want to break down a little bit for our listeners on a marketing level is co-branding a product with an influencer. And I think for listeners, what is really powerful about this is leveraging someone else's audience. That's where collaborations in general are incredible, because it means that you take the combination of your audience, someone else's audience, and you get to smoosh them together to some extent. And the amazing thing about that is lots of new followers, lots of new engagement. It's also really powerful for authority. So especially if you can find a collaboration with a brand or an influencer that's pretty hot, that just means that you get their hotness rubbed all over you. Since I'm using all my sexual analogies on this today, we may as well have some fun with the pun. But I think what's amazing about collaborations is a bunch of those levers, and co-branding a product is even more powerful, especially when the only loss is, let's be honest, you're always going to be able to sell the product at cost anyway if it all fell apart. But the upside is the opportunity to sell one of your products to a whole new audience. And I think that's super powerful. Have there been any co-branded products that have been worth sharing with us today, like from the perspective of success?
Yeah, I mean, look, the one we've got going at the moment with AJ, he's a sex educator from Sydney. That's going well at the moment. And we've just got one, it's like a really basic toy Lulu that we did. It's like an extended bullet vibrator for those that know their vibrators. And look, that's been really well. I think the sales number, maybe we've sold, I did the invoice the last month, so maybe we've sold maybe 800 units with him by now, which is good over a couple of months. That's awesome. And we don't even, I mean, look, I see other brands do it in different ways. I think we just have a very relaxed setup. So we don't even prescribe what they need to be posting or how often. It's more just here's 50-50 profit share. Let's do it for 90 days. Let's see how it goes, and those who are, and I'll say to them, look, this is what we've done in the past. This is a calendar of from launch day, how many posts there were, how many emails went out from both sides, so that they can get a fair understanding of, what that looks like. But to be super prescriptive is not really our style. And I think for a lot of influencers, depends on the person as well, who you're talking to. You might have an influencer who really wants let me know how many reels you want me to do. But then on the flip side, if you've got someone who can be like fast and loose and just wants to get out there and do it, and they're motivated by, say, the cash or something, so that's going to be a totally fine way to keep everything in check, then that's different as well. So I think with the collaborated products, that also comes down to relationships. And it's one of those things where if you're listening and you've got a business and you're like, I need to make some sales tomorrow, unfortunately, it's not going to be the kind of thing that you can just do really quickly. And I think the best piece of advice there would be just, social media is such a powerful tool for getting in front of people. And if you can just be engaging with these people like they're your mates already, and just supporting them, commenting the odd DM, and just building up that like virtual relationship. The day will come where you either run into them, you meet them, you put forward to them, hey, we've got this new product coming out. Do you want to do it together? Or, even if it's another brand, like if you can just start warming them up a little bit, you just never know what opportunity will be around the corner. But these things, we're just over 4 years now, and probably both the collaborations that we've done, I think there's only been 2. We would have been talking to these people for like over a year. If you've got a podcast, get them on the podcast, have a chat with them, do things that don't involve you saying, hey, can we have a chat, or that involves that you stealing their time, just build a relationship.
Money in the bucket first, in other words, like make sure that there's something in the tank first. And this is, of course, one of the great things. I'm 4 years into podcasting, and I meet some of my favorite people in the whole world on my podcast. Even just the podcast guest I had before you, Viv, I'm pretty sure we're going to be friends forever. Like we met like an hour ago. So I think it's really important it's a great way to connect with people as well. And I love that. Let's talk about Linkbee. So there's mixed reviews inside my team around Linkbee, and I personally think it's a bit of a genius. For our listeners, Linkbee, Linkby, is a reverse engineering publicity platform. So think about Linkbee is almost like a meta business manager, but for getting your product into articles or listicles in media. So Linkbee has, 50 or 100 media outlets that are behind the scenes, and you go in and you put an ad budget next to your product and maybe indicate some magazines or journalistic outlets that you think might, for example, I used to have a men's hand cream and I wanted to put it in Better Homes and Gardens. Like that's a really obvious fit, right? But the great thing is that you put a budget against it. So let's say $1,000 at, $2.5 a click. And then the media themselves write the article, but they don't earn a cent. There's no publicist, there's no money transacted until that article sends people to your website. And so the great thing about this is that it's about them putting their money where their mouth is. So the better the article, the better the click-throughs. But the other thing is you're then getting retarget traffic to your website. So then you get the pixels of the people who have clicked through to your product, and then you get to re-advertise to them on other platforms. And I suppose you don't always use the full budget against each media outlet. Sometimes you might say $1,000 budget, but maybe you only spend $250. And like, if I'll give you another upsell, if I haven't already sold it to you, what I also love about Linkbee is you can have your product mentioned in media outlets and then take those fucking logos and put them all over your website as seen on Sunrise. Like, I mean, hello, this is clever. This is clever for a brand founder. It's a whole bunch of things in one. So I want to know from your side, how does Linkbee work for you guys?
Yeah, look, I think it's like any type of marketing. It doesn't matter if we're doing influencer marketing, if it's Linkbee, you've always got to have some kind of element of trial and error. So for us, like, there's some publications, I think news.com and Daily Mail are always the best performing for us. We thought, because anytime we get in front of, anytime we can get in front of 50 plus age group, they just buy. We're definitely going to try like life starts at 60. But when we tried that with pet publication, it just fell flat. So it's just a trial and error. And it's actually all about your brand as well. So we will do, some of our products, some of the beginner products go really well. And then when we do other products, we go, oh, that didn't work at all. And look, I think there's so many different reasons that can be. Like, we tried because we thought, okay, well, this product always works. Let's go and try this in the UK and the US, because then we can just, they've got agreements with publishers over there as well. And for some reason, the UK just wouldn't work. And it was the funniest thing. We probably spent over $5,000 and went like, that really didn't do anything. That's so strange. I was in the UK recently, and as it turns out, a lot of the Wi-Fi providers block our website. So even if I go onto Google and I search for like Love Honey, who's a big competitor, or I search for Ann Summers, which is a big shop over there, or Girls Get Off, we don't come up, because it's like unless you're in an incognito window or you're on like your laptop, of which people reading Linkbee, like, news articles on neither of those things. That's why it totally fell flat. And it was, or if I was on my data. So if I was on my data, then we could go to my website. Couldn't believe it. I was like, well, no wonder the Linkbee didn't work, because that was a obstacle I hadn't even seen before. So it's like, as with any marketing, it's not going to be until you test your product on those platforms that you figure out what's going to work. I think, again, seeing proof of concept, I had a nosy. Like, if you search your competitor's name and click on news, if they've got an article talking about a product, name a publisher who was going to talk about a product for free on news sites these days. It just doesn't happen. So there's a very high chance, if you can see a competitor and they've repetitively got news articles about a certain product, or the way that it's written, or is it written in review style, or is it written in, have they been up there for a long time? If they're in listicles, what does that look like? Just to kind of give you an idea on what will actually perform. Like, we also did a Linkbee article for, I can't remember now. I think we did it for a product, and because Linkbee gets paid per click, so if they click through to the website and you're paying $2.50 or whatever for them to click through, if you don't have enough information on the article about what the product is, so we did some for our sex pillow and they didn't go amazing. And my theory there is that when I was looking at the article again, even though it was a review, I was like, there weren't enough photos on there with before and afters, to actually show what it looks like lying on the pillow. And so therefore, I think that that hurt our results, because people are going, what? Clicking through and just having a little nosy. Whereas if it was all on the article already, if they were interested, they would click through. And if they weren't interested, they wouldn't click through. So yeah, look, it's all just such a learning curve. I think it's really good for product launches as well, if you've got new things coming out. And I've had friends who have used Linkbee and then taken those screenshots and used that to run ads to as well. So that's been, again, it's just that social proof. Yeah, so it makes, like, it's like anything, you've got to try it. Once you figure out what works for your brand, then great, but it's definitely worth a shot.
Let me guess, you've built a successful brand, but now you're feeling stretched, stuck, and unsure how to scale to the next level. I see it all the time. The truth is, what got you here won't get you there. That's where SheCom's Scale Mastermind program comes in. We've helped so many women grow from 6 to multiple 6 and even 7 figures without sacrificing their sanity. If you're ready for real strategic support and to be surrounded by women who truly get it, come join us. You don't have to figure this out alone. Head to shecom.co and take that next step. I honestly think that like most marketing, you have to be prepared to lose the spend with no
Yeah.
results. Otherwise, if you've hinged your groceries next week off a spend on Linkbee, you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons. So if you've
Yeah.
got the budget to try some new things, one thing I can confidently share is Lou from Strapsicle, who Viv and I both know, has had super success with, in particular, listicles. So both on Linkbee, and then there are also specific listicle publicity experts, particularly in America, where that's all they do is they get products on listicles in the States. But think like the number one Kindle accessory to buy for your loved one for Christmas. Like think really specific listicles where you might be one of up to 10 products on a listing, but every single one of those 10 products, the media is getting kickback from of a click through, and then you're getting the opportunity to get completely new traffic driven to your site. So I know Lou in particular has had super success with listicles. What about you guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to say that's the perfect example of different business, different situation, right? Because I think for our business, if we're up against, three different bullet vibrator, or, 10 different of our favorite bullet vibrators, often when people can see them side by side like that, if it's a bit more of a considered purchase, what we're assuming is that they must be like, and this is what I would do as a consumer, I'd open the windows of all my favorites and then make the decision from there. So if they've opened 3 or 4 different windows, then that's like 3 or 4 different clicks. So listicles haven't been as amazing for us as I know they have been for Lou. And in fact, they just messaged me the other day that they wanted to update some, and I said, oh, no, it's not really worth it for us. So that is the perfect example of how something could,
Horses for
if we get if we get an article, amazing for us. If she gets listicles, amazing for her. Like, I think that just goes to show, like you say, you just have to be prepared to have a dabble and work with. Always remember that you can negotiate too. Like, we're in such a great space at the moment for businesses and marketing because there's not heaps of money floating around. So make sure when it comes to Linkbee or influencers and stuff that you're always trying to get a better deal too, because I've wasted lots of money on that in the past where I could have probably whittled something down, especially if it's your first time.
Negotiate hard. I love it. Tell us, you made an interesting comment at the start about AI as an opportunity for more marketing. I'd love to know like what particularly you've got planned in a ooh ha ha kind of moment. Give us your few
Oh,
thoughts, Viv.
I actually had a conversation yesterday with some other business owners who are really nervous about the future of AI, more for their kids and like what the world is going to look like. But I think I'm just too optimistic. I'm so excited about AI. I thought, oh, we can all just own robots. It'll be great. Or, what if you don't have to work? You can do your knitting, or you can watch entertainment, or you can be a dancer for a job. Like, what is the world going to look like? Are we going to need to do all these things? So, I mean, at a macro sense, I'm excited about AI as a whole. And I think with that, because I'm so interested in always trying the new platforms, figuring things out, having conversations with people around what they're doing. I mean, for starters, we've just implemented like the gorgeous AI agent. So in customer service software, where we're seeing if someone's got a broken toy, we need a video. That is at the moment, that's a macro. So our customer service person presses a couple of buttons. But how good from a customer point of view if our AI agent picks it up and just sends them an email straight away saying, hey, we need a video. That means they can send, it could be 8 o'clock at night where we're not going to check it for another 12 hours. They can send us the videos, and that's already cut out like however many tickets. So that's one way, like just off the top of my head. We're all using ChatGPT, and Perplexity is the one I've been using recently, which I've found really good. Constantly using that, whether it be we had a staff restructure the other day, and when I used to have to call up, subscribe, call up, talk to people. Am I doing this right? Fill out templates, all those sorts of things. It's saving so much time, encouraging everyone on the team to use it. If you've got a pro plan, I'm making sure everyone's got that paid. And then I think when it comes to competitors, I think there's a lot of room for growth in the SEO space, particularly. So, I talked to some people they were from Ireland actually, and they are in a really interesting situation because Ireland has left because what is it? The UK left Europe or something, but it was Ireland. Anyway, with Brexit,
Yeah,
they
Ireland
had
stayed in EU, but the UK left.
yeah, so they've got a really interesting opportunity. They only started their e-commerce store in 2018, but because now people are searching specifically for, say, sex toys Ireland or whatever, they're able to put new products up on their site, take things from like descriptions and so on from competitors, literally ask ChatGPT to make it better. And because they're just doubling down on the location specific keywords, it's really working for them. So I've got other friends doing different articles, and I think look, you still want to, Google always comes back to what content is the most relevant and what's the most, helpful content. Those are the guidelines, aren't they? But I think there's some stuff in that space where SEO for us versus a brand who's 20 years old, that could be huge for us, where even if it's just asking questions, like, what else would you change on this account or this page? What have I missed? Or can you reword this a little bit better? Or, even like blog posts and asking it to do the headers and paragraph things right in Shopify. Yeah, there's lots of little things, and I am very much of the belief that unless these big brands have someone who's really leading it in-house, I don't think they're going to see to it. Nah, I don't see why an employee would be motivated to find these solutions unless it was like the IT department or something, and or unless they got an agency in, which again is going to be super slow. So I think all of these incremental wins, like even if we do customer service chatbot over here, if we do, I've got dictation on my computer called Whisper Flow, where I just hold down a button and I just talk, and then it doesn't matter if I'm in Slack or if I'm in a Word document or if I'm in anything, even my New Zealand accent, which some of the dictation tools don't like. It will, like emails, dictates everything. So even just the time I'm saving on that, I believe that all those little incremental wins are going to mean we're so agile. And because the space is moving so quickly, like I think it's really hard for our brains to comprehend how quickly this changes. Like what happens on the day when driverless trucks become a thing, all it needs is the day that makes the legislation, all right, driverless trucks are all good now, then we could see like huge shifts in like jobs and careers overnight, which is very scary and like very unsettling. But I think at the same time, it brings with it heaps of exciting opportunities. I think people are going to be able to do more of the stuff they like doing. And I think when it comes to us, we're all the small fish at the moment, but I just can't see why any employees would be looking too deeply unless it's someone at the top looking really deeply into the stuff. And there's now so many, like you look at Google's VO3, the video software they just brought out. I have normally been looking at most, playing around with most different platforms, but I'm like, I don't really have anything to play around with video software like that. So I'm not going to play around with it. So someone else will go and like figure that out and they'll do that part. So we're all going to end up going off into our different silos of what AI we're looking at. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride, but I just think making the most of it where you can is going to pay dividends.
Yeah, we have the same opinion here. Most of my team, we've got custom GPTs for different parts of the business. And I'm loving seeing is, like Klaviyo, for example, a platform that we all use in our brands. Like Klaviyo have done such exceptional leaps this year in their product development using not just Klaviyo, but Klaviyo Customer. So not just, the CRM, email management, but the Customer, which is the gorgeous competitor, has like massive AI leaps. And then they've got analytics now, which also is like an AI-led piece that can push out analytics for you to understand better how to leverage the data that you've got, what you're missing in revenue. Like that shit is like mind-blowing. So people say to me all the time, here at SheCom, there's like, I don't know, we've got more than 45 in our team, probably more like 55 at the moment because we just had a big expansion. That includes our contractor coaches. So we've probably got more like 35 or so in our inner core. But there's not a single person I could lose in my team. It's not a case of AI taking jobs. For me, it's actually a case of us being cleverer about what we do, about harnessing our ability to be more efficient in our roles and to actually be just fucking better in general. Like our marketing has become sharper. Our copy is way better. I mean, I just did an overhaul of our programs here at SheCom and I gave our custom GPT our competitors and then I gave them all of our current program offerings and then I voice recorded a stack of rambling shit into it. And then I said, now rebuild my program offerings. And then I was like, right, now make it more professional. Now make it shorter. Give me the Canva bullet point versions. Give me the longer spiels. And it just constantly reworks things and gives you 9 different ways. We do job descriptions for new roles that we're advertising for. And on LinkedIn, I can have the hottest ad up in about 7 minutes. And then I have a matching set of KPIs for that role sent through to HR about 8 minutes later. Now that shit would have been on my desk for 3 weeks before I got around to it previously. So I got onto it same evening that one of my team mentioned it to me. So I kind of just think it's not scary at all. I mean, probably maybe there's scary bits when you've got the likes of Netanyahu and Putin and Trump in charge around the world. But if we break it down to what we use it for in a business context, I just think it's a fucking game changer.
Absolute game changer. That makes me laugh so much because I remember also trying to figure out job descriptions and like roles, and it's just like No business owner wants to do that. Like the reason we're in business is because we're too delinquent to like do all that stuff. So like it just the game changerness is wild. And my housemate the other day was like, "Stop talking to that robot," because I'm always talking, and saying blah 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 blah. And I said, "No, I'm like, you need to talk to it more because otherwise you're going to be like the person who's like, oh, I can't get my emails on my laptop. They're only on my tablet." I'm like, that's going to be you in a few years if you don't like. When Google first came out, we were like, red car, and now it's like, how do I change the brake lights on blah blah blah, like knowing how to speak the language and use it and using it more in your daily life and thinking about like, oh, actually I could use AI for that is actually half the leap that I think. One of my friends messaged me yesterday. We'd just been on holiday together. She said, oh my God, I'm asking ChatGPT all my questions. I thought, did you not use it beforehand? She said, no, I didn't, not for everything like I saw you doing, but now I'm just doing all of it. So, but it's going to be one of the biggest advantages we have as small players. I think that we're going to be able to be like screeds ahead of where we could have been with, against the big guys. That's my thinking anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree. Sometimes my biggest problem is I want to be really gushingly thanking my custom GPT, and then I realize it doesn't give a shit about whether I'm grateful or not. That's my biggest problem. I'm like, I want to send it flowers and say, you just saved me hours. Thank you so much. And it's like, don't need to thank me. I got nothing back for that, thanks. I want to ask you as a final thing on the potty today, Viv, 5 fast questions. If you could give me a snap answer only. What is one word to describe you that would surprise people?
Lisa, that's a hard question. One to describe people. Lazy. I feel like I have my lazy days. Someone told me the other day, you're not lazy, but I was like, I think I am sometimes. And you know what? No, I'm polarizing. I'm all go or all stop. I think that's true. I think everyone gets the energy version of me, and then I will come to a screeching halt when I get home.
Like a balance, like a counterbalance.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
What's one word to describe running a business?
Grit.
Second time today I've had a podcast guest say grit. The other one said grit and grace. 2 words.
Ooh, I like that.
Counterbalancing again. What's the first thing you do when you feel stuck?
Talk to people. Yeah, or go for a run, either or. Normally both. If both can be together, that's even better.
What's a brand you're obsessed with right now?
Brand I'm obsessed with right now? Oh, goodness. It's not now in my head, it's not a brand. Do you know, this is I've always got the most random examples. I'm going to show you one that's not a brand. It's these, remember when you'd make home videos growing up? Maybe in front of the video camera or something. It's these 3 boys from New Zealand. Their Instagram handle is Pluck Boys with a Z. And it's like they're 19, 16, and 13, and they're doing like, yo, we're vlogging every day until we get 500,000 followers. And they've done it. But the thing is, they're like incredible at like BMX, scootering, whatever. And like the 13-year-olds doing backflips, they're cooking, it's just like real wholesome. I don't know where they're living in New Zealand, but they're doing backflips off the barbecue while they're supposed to be cooking sausages for dinner and stuff. Like it just cracks me up so much. They've got like Nitro Circus people, X Games commenting on their stuff, being like, this is amazing. So this is not a business example, but do you know what I love? I love seeing random accounts pop out of the blue now because I think it's such a niche game. And I just love seeing, like, this is just there every day. And it's a perfect example of how you might be doing something every day, mucking around. You think, why would people care about me, pulling my bike out of the foam pit? But it's so fascinating for the person who owns a sex toy company, which is just so far away from my life, So random example, but there you go. Have a look.
No, I love that. And that's why things get virility, I guess, because humans are inherently voyeuristic. What's your biggest business lesson in one sentence?
Oh, biggest business lesson is like just hang on and keep taking on board feedback from those who've been there before and actually take action. Yeah,
I love that.
And you just got to hang on. I've watched so many of my friends go through some serious challenges, and the one trend is that they hang on, they've got the grit, and they've got a bit of optimism, even if they're like, I didn't sleep last night, but I'm sure it'll get better. Oh, I threw up. I've been throwing up. I'm so stressed. But it's got to get better. It's got to get better. We're just like a little bit crazy. But the other part, it has to come hand in hand with being ready to be like, listen and take action. Because, sometimes people aren't ready to listen. I've not listened many times in my life and then gone, oh, actually, they've been telling me that for a long time, So.
Yes, should have been listening. Now, listeners, if you're thinking I need just a little bit of that Viv magic in my business, well, the best bit is you can. Viv's one of our epic coaches here inside SheCom, and she's helped so many women level up their marketing. So if you want in on Viv and SheCom, head to the link in our show notes and come join us over at SheCom in one of our programs. Viv,
come and join the dark side or the bright side, either or. The best side. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on today, Lisa. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine, Viv.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of She Talks. I hope today's conversation sparked ideas, gave you strategies you can put into action, and reminded you that you're never alone on this journey. If you loved this episode, head over to shecom.co for today's show notes, exclusive freebies, and special offers from our sponsors. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss a future episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep building, and most importantly, keep talking.